went for a walk today at Swan Lake Iris Gardens, the jewel of Sumter. And it was such a strange time to be in the garden because the salvias were still in bloom, the echinacea was still in full bloom, and the sasanquas were in full bloom. This long, long, sweet fall we had may come to a bitter end this weekend, but I have certainly enjoyed the beauty of nature, and I hope you have too. I'm Amanda McNulty with Clemson Extension, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are going to have a good hour with SCETV's own gardening show, Making It Grow, and we're coming to you live from historic downtown Sumter. We've got some people inside ready to answer those questions about the funny things that are happening in your yard. So please use that toll-free line and give us a call. We've got master gardeners answering the phone, sitting there waiting to hear from you. So please do call. We love hearing from you. We're going to have a good time tonight. We're going to visit a farm that has decided to find its place in the future, and we're going to learn about what's happening there, Timberock at Hopkins Farm. And we also are going to learn about how we can take a longleaf pine cone and make a fun decoration for our Halloween. Wait a minute, Halloween's already gone. Let's get in the right month. It's Thanksgiving table. So let's go inside and get things going. We've got a lot to do tonight. Goodness gracious, all kinds of things are unusual. Terasa Lott is not at her usual desk. Terasa is a water quality agent in Florence. And tonight I think you're wearing a different hat. Terasa, what's happening?
Well, that's not right. I don't have a hat on at all, but you are right that I am in a different location this evening over here at the side counter as we prepare for Thanksgiving in just a few weeks. We're going to show you how you can transform a longleaf pine cone into a family-friendly decoration for your holiday gathering. Now, I have a very special guest with me today. Can you tell everyone at home your name?
I'm Ellie Flynn.
Ellie Flynn. And how old are you, Ellie?
5.
5 years old. Now, are you excited about making a turkey with me today?
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Do you have any pets at home? You don't have turkeys, I bet.
I got Gizmo.
What kind of animal is Gizmo?
A cat.
A cat. Did you know I have dogs at home?
Dad.
I have 5 dogs in my house right now.
Gizmo's gonna be crazy about her.
Well, this turkey is pretty easy to take care of, so it can be sort of like a pet, but you don't have to feed it. That's a good thing, yeah?
Yeah, because it's just pretend.
It's just pretend. That's right, that's right. So we have a pine cone, and we have some feet already made from this very strong floral wire. It looks like raffia on the outside, has wire on the inside, so you can get your turkey to stand up on its very own. And what color did you decide to have the feet and legs, Ellie?
Yellow.
Yellow, that's right. So we are going to start putting our turkey together, and to do that we have to mold some clay, and we're going to put that in the openings on the longleaf cone, and that will hold all of our feathers in place. So shall we get started, Ellie?
Yes.
Yes, can you help me to start rolling out the Crayola Model Magic?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Model magic.
Model Magic, there we go. Can we put it in? Good job. So we're going to keep stuffing and feathering, and we'll check back in later and let you know how our turkey is progressing. Amanda, back to you.
Well, this is the night for birds. I see that Ellie has a little owl on the front of her outfit. She looks mighty cute. And she was here the other night when we had a live owl on the show. That was a lot of fun. The chat room is open, and we hope that you will go in there. You girls and you guys and gals, hens, there are a bunch of y'all who call hens, know what you're doing in there. Get in there and have a good time. And remember that we've got some master gardeners who are kind of out there in the shadows. If anybody needs some help, we'll be glad to do all we can to help you. And I know you'll miss Terasa, but don't worry, she'll be back next week. And I'm so happy that we have Jackie Jordan. Jackie is the horticulture agent in gosh knows how many places.
3.
3. That's Fairfield, Kershaw, and Richland. But you're up to it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, yes.
And tell me, do you still get calls from people who want to put out weed and feed or fertilize their grass this time of year?
This time of year, winterizer, and not a good idea with our southern turf grass. No nitrogen, it just opens up for more damage.
Yeah. So save your money and do something else.
Save your money and do something else.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's right. Yeah, get ready for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Tony Melton, of course, helps farmers all over the PD with vegetables, small fruits and vegetables. And Tony, what how are our vegetables doing? We hadn't had a whole lot of rain. Is everybody under irrigation, or what's going on?
Well, it's kind of cooling down a little bit,
Yeah.
and they don't actually need as much
Quite as
when
much.
it gets cooler. And collards and things like that, which is the king this time of year,
Yeah.
it's a little bit drought tolerant, but they do need a rain. It
Yeah, we
would
could
be
use-
wonderful. if
And
we had
Tony,
some.
I was with you at the Farm Festival in Lake City, and boy, did we see some beautiful greens there. Several people, I think, Stan McKenzie and what's the name of the other brand?
Long Branch
Long
Farms.
Branch. Beautiful vegetables. I hope all of you are looking at your local, dealing with your local farmers and getting some of these fabulous fresh greens from them. There is nothing like greens in the fall of the year to make you feel good.
And neither of them have irrigation, so it's just.
Well, there you go. That
it's
just shows you.
Shows you. You can do pretty
Okay,
good.
Good. And now we're gonna. Oh, we were so sad last week. Our heart was burdened because Dr. John wasn't with us, but he's back. Thank goodness. Dr. John, how are you tonight?
I'm doing very well, Amanda, and glad to be on the show tonight.
Well, we are so happy that you're here. And you know, you always you help us with so many fascinating things. If Dr. John identified this toothache tree for us, and it made me go and look about that and remember that people used to use plants, John. That was all we had for our pharmacy, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, there has been a huge body of knowledge all developed around the medicinal uses of local plants in basically every human society. And so that's continued in some ways into modern medicine, in which a lot of the medicines that we use now are not necessarily derived from plants, but are the same compound that the plants produce.
So, and which is one reason we celebrate biodiversity. And John, if people have some biodiversity in their yard that they can't identify, what's the best way to get a specimen or an image to you so that they can find out what's growing there?
Well, Amanda, you know, it's there's never a time during the year when there aren't some interesting plants out there in our yards or our landscape or wherever we are. And if you do have something that you want to get a name for, we'd be happy to take a look at what you've got. You just give me a call at the office or bring it by Coker Life Sciences on Sumter Street here in town if you're close enough. Or, you know, send me an email message with an image of your plant.
All
And I
right.
got a couple of images just, I guess it was yesterday. A lady had bought a couple of plants at a flea market. They were really terrible looking plants, but she's going to try to nurse them back to health, and she wants to know what they are.
Okay. Well, I hope she won't call us and ask us to tell her what to do with half-dead plants. The first thing you should do when you shop is buy quality plants, I think. Well, John, we're going to come back in just a little bit for the mystery plant tonight, and I'm sure it will be a quality, not half-dead plant, right?
It will be quality and very, very beautiful.
Oh, I can't wait. All right, we'll see you in just a little bit.
Okay.
And we have a call already. Goodness gracious, Doug is calling us from Blythewood. Doug, we are delighted to hear from you. And are you in the part of Blythewood that's kind of sandy?
Yes, I am.
Yep, that's-
Sandy and rocky clay.
That's Blythewood. That nails it down, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Well, what's happening up there that we can help you with tonight?
I have a couple of my gardenia plants for some reason seem to be dying. The leaves started turning black from where they come off of the main part of the stem. They started turning black there, and then they just died completely off. And now even the green leaves are falling off.
Now, how long have these been in your yard? How long have they been growing?
They've been growing about 2 years now. In fact, they bloomed last year.
About 2 years. And are you irrigating?
Yeah, they're in a flower bed that I've got 2 azaleas in and some other stuff, and everything else been doing great, and these been doing fine up until about 3 weeks ago when I started noticing the leaves turning black, and then it turned completely black.
Okay.
It seems like the main part of the stem is starting to turn colors too. I decided to go out there and try water and see if that was going to help any, but it's all moist in there anyhow.
Okay. Well, let's see if anybody has any ideas. Everything else in the bed seems to be doing okay, and all of a sudden, this doesn't sound like sooty mold. This sounds like they're actually dying.
That may be a root rot that started. My best advice is bring a sample by the Richland County office or the Fairfield County office. Let me take a look to make sure, but
Well, if he's
sounds like it
going
is
to,
root rot.
does he need to bring a part of the root into you, or how do you want him to bring the sample?
Part of the stem,
Just part of the stem.
where the stem has discolored.
Yeah.
That would be
Okay,
enough to
okay.
take a look at
And
some of those
what
leaves.
would cause that, Tony?
Probably too much water. If he's getting root rot, it's probably just too much water.
They
Yeah.
said it was
And
moist.
azaleas don't like too much water either, so I'd be
Cautious
questioning
about,
it.
yeah. You know, a lot of people haven't turned their irrigation systems off yet. They still have it in the summer mode, and that's
right.
a real important thing. If you do have irrigation, to be certain that you've scaled it back dramatically, because it's not summer anymore.
That's
is it?
right. It's
Okay.
cooling down.
All right. Cynthia's calling us from Ridgeville. Cynthia, we're happy to hear from you tonight. And are you expecting a frost? Have you had a hard frost yet, or you still got things blooming out in the yard?
Got a few things. One plant blooming, but I think it's probably going to be hit here probably tomorrow night.
I think it's going to be a big surprise for a lot of plants. But what can we do to help you with what's out there growing?
I have two quick questions.
All right.
One is can a mimosa be successfully transplanted? And if it can, is this a good time of the year?
All right.
And the other one is, what is the best type of daffodil to plant? I live down in the low country, to maximize my chances of success with daffodils.
All righty. Gosh, she wants to transplant a mimosa.
A weed.
It's kind of a weedy plant. If she were going to transplant it, I guess the fall would be a good time to do it. But I mean, I don't know that there's anything particular about it. Do you, Tony?
They do have a deep root, deep
might
tap
be
root,
kinda
but you
hard.
can cut that off, and that won't be any problem. They like a weed, like I said. They
I
usually
think
come
you'll
up
have-
all over.
You know, and what you might want to do instead, though, is since mimosas seed down and they're considered kind of a weedy plant, I think some of these new dark-colored mimosas don't set seeds, if I'm not mistaken. Have you heard that, Jackie?
I have not.
I believe that might be case, and so it might be that instead of transplanting, you might want to get one that won't send out sprout. So you won't have so many seedlings to have to pick up in your yard.
They're beautiful, though.
They are pretty. They're really exotic. And then she's got a daffodil. She wants to plant daffodils. Gosh, I would just look in the catalog and see
There
which
are.
ones they recommend
There's
for
a
the
few
south.
different ones that come to mind. White Flower Farm, even Riverbank Zoo does bulb sales, and there's a lot of daffodil choices that will do well in our zone and down on the coast. So she's got a wider variety of choices. I would just look with some of these bulb specialists.
And you know what? If I'm not mistaken, Moore Farms Botanical Gardens did some research on the daffodils they planted. And you could call Rebecca Turk, who's the education specialist there, and I think she would probably tell you which ones have done real good in that, and that would be similar to other
They
places in
might
South
even have it
Carolina.
on their website. They
They have
a
an
website.
amazing
They do.
website.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd probably be easier just to call Rebecca than to navigate through the website, but I'm kind of computer challenged. At any rate, we're going to check it with Teresa and see if they've got glue and modeling clay all over their fingers. Teresa, how are you and Ellie getting along with your turkeys?
So far, so good. Not too much mess over here. Before we tell you about our turkey, want to let you know that there are chatters in the chat room, and big thank you to Trish DeHond, who is manning the chat room from home, and I know anyone who's in there will benefit from her gardening expertise. So if you haven't logged in, feel free to do so. The more, the merrier. And Ellie has been working hard over here, crafting our Thanksgiving turkey, right, Ellie?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and we had to fill up our pine cone with the model magic. You like how that feels, don't you? Yes, and you helped me to start making the turkey's head. How did you help me with the turkey? What did we put on there?
Eyeballs.
We put eyeballs on there so the turkey can
See.
see. And which part did you want to add next?
This part.
That's going to be the beak? Yes. Should we tell everybody our secret, what it is? It goes in the other direction. Just like this. Can you push it in? I'll help. Ouch! Oh, the turkey said it hurt.
No, it didn't.
Oh, I'm silly, aren't I? All right, so now we have our turkey head made out of a styrofoam ball. We have two googly eyes, and we have a beak that is made from the end of a feather. We just cut the tip off of the feather so that we could...
that feather.
It wasn't that one. How did you know? It's a different color, isn't it? So shall we start adding feathers to our turkey now?
Yep.
Yes, which one would you like to add first? Ooh, the pretty brown feather. And should our turkey have a few feathers or a lot of feathers?
A
lot. Well, Ellie says that we should have a lot of feathers, so we are going to get busy stuffing our bird with feathers, and when you come back later, we'll give you all the tips on how you can create your own pine cone turkey. Amanda?
Thank you so much. I got so excited listening to you. I think I forgot the next call. I think it's Dale in Somerville. Dale, thank you, Dale. I got all involved in the turkey project. How are you tonight, Dale, and how can we help you?
I'm doing fine, Amanda. Thank you. I have a rather large yard, and we have about 35 croutons.
Crotons?
I've never known. Crotons. Anyway, the big ones we dig up each year and put it in the greenhouse, and the smaller ones I have brought into the house this year and wanted to know some of the care that I might give it because I've never had these inside.
So you've usually put them in the greenhouse?
Yes, we dig them up each year and put them in the greenhouse.
Gosh.
And we've been successful in splitting some of them, but some of the smaller ones we brought inside.
Okay.
And I don't want to lose them, but I don't know if I should rotate them or with the greenhouse stuff or how much water, any sort of
Okay, well, let's see what we can do to help you. I mean, of course, crotons are those wonderful plants that actually look almost like the color of feathers that we have over there.
Yeah.
I just think they're so fun looking.
They
don't you?
are.
Yeah.
They are.
Wax plants.
Wax plants, yeah. They come with all kinds of fun colors. They kind of fallish looking, even though it is a tender plant. So he's had a good look with them in the greenhouse. What do you think? What tips would you give him for the ones that are in the house?
Well,
Jackie?
any house plant, when we tend to run our heat through the winter months, they get a lot drier, so check the water. You do usually have to water more often in the winter months than during the summer months. It's also good to mist around your plants or group them together to keep the humidity up, because the humidity is much lower in the house than in the greenhouse.
Okay.
So that would help.
Yeah, and use your fingers. I like to use my fingers. Stick it into the pot and check whether it needs some water
So
or not.
don't just say, oh, I hadn't watered in a couple of days, because
Right.
it's so varied depending on how the heat's running in the house.
That's
It does.
right.
So don't be afraid to get your finger dirty. That's the best way to be a gardener, is to have a dirty, not a green thumb, but kind of a brownish, dirt-colored finger, because that means you're testing the soil. And that's
Yes,
the best
that
way
is,
to find
that
out. It
is.
really, really
And
is.
I'd put them pretty close to a window too, because they've been
they do like
outside.
sun.
They like to get a little bit of light.
They might
in
drop some leaves if they don't get them. But don't let the sun come through and scald them.
Don't.
Right.
Because in the wintertime, you realize the sun comes down, especially on the south
Oh, you're
facing,
right, yeah.
and it comes straighter in, but you don't want it direct. You want it a little bit over to the side.
Okay. Well, I hope they'll come through real well for you, because they really are beautiful
facing
plants. And
window,
I
big
admire you for going out and working so hard with a great big yard and still digging up things and putting them in the greenhouse. Right now, we're going to talk to someone who doesn't dig up things and bring them inside, because he said he's not much of a gardener, but I've seen Dr. John's yard, and it actually is quite beautiful. Dr. John, are you there with the mystery plant?
Amanda, we have a wonderful mystery plant tonight. I'm kind of having a little trouble hearing you,
I'm sorry.
but that's all right. This plant, by the way, I just wanted to say that in my summer garden outside, I have one last gourd plant that's still in bloom. I'm so happy with it.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think it. Look at it quick, because it'll probably be gone in a couple of days.
That's right. But tonight we have a beautiful, beautiful native species that grows in savannas and flatwoods, and what people like to call pine barrens sometimes. And it's a plant that it really is truly and indeed one of the prettiest wildflowers in the southeast.
A beautiful color, an unusual color.
That's right. It has a shade of blue that is really sort of, it is remarkable, and it's just so pretty. It does vary a good bit from population to population, a sort of a sky blue to sometimes kind of purplish with a lot of speckles on the petals.
Gosh, that's pretty.
And they're little, if you look closely, you can see that they're little pleats between the petals, which is sort of an odd situation. But this plant is, it's one of those plants that loves to get burned up in the summer or the autumn every now and then. And then it'll come back.
So a prescribed,
with a pretty showy blooming time.
So the prescribed fires.
It is not very, very common, and although it isn't on any kind of a rare species list, it's one of those plants that grows in a very special habitat. Like I said, the coastal plain pine forests, this being from about New Jersey down to just barely into Georgia. And we have actually several populations that are pretty easy to see in South Carolina. But like I said, it's not a real common plant.
Is each flower arising from a different plant, or is it a big plant under the ground that's giving rise to all this upper growth, a big structure under the ground?
Well, it's, I guess each plant can have several stems.
Okay.
Now, usually each stem has a single flower up on the top.
All right.
Every now and then you'll have a stem that'll have 2 or 3 flowers, but usually just a single flower.
Would Tony have seen this in Macby, or would it be a bit up there in those pine woods, or was it in ones that are a little bit wetter?
In fact, I hope he's seen it, because I know it's up there. I've seen it up there near Sugarloaf Mountain, I think, which is near Macby.
Well, you know what?
So far away.
I think we're going to have to ask you to be our sugar tonight and give us some hints, because everybody's sitting here going, ooh.
Don't know.
I should have. I don't know why I haven't.
Have you got any of those wonderful John Nelson hints for us, John?
Well, the hints, they do grow in the pine barrens, and the big hint is that this is one of the gentian species.
Oh, okay. So, grows in the pine barren, and it is a
Ginseng.
gentian, so pine barren gentian. Woohoo! Woo! I declare we are some smart guys up here. Say the scientific name, Gentiana?
Gentiana autumnalis.
Well,
and of course, the other part of the very interesting biology of this plant is it's one of those plants that likes to bloom in the late autumn. So, I mean, now while it's cold, most plants don't like that, but this one does.
Well, it is truly a gorgeous plant, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. It makes me want to go take a walk in the woods, and reminds us that the prescribed fires that keep that biodiversity in those pine barrens is so important, and that we are glad that we've got foresters and landowners who know how to take care of those woods so that we can see these beautiful specimens. Thank you, John, and we'll check in with you again next week.
Okay, Amanda, it's been a lot of fun.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
We've got another call already, and Hugh is calling us from Seneca. How's everything up your way, Hugh?
I'm beautiful.
Good.
Beautiful.
Oh, I bet the wood. Did y'all have a pretty fall this year?
Yes, gorgeous.
I'm glad.
Yeah. I have not a plant or a flower question, but we have a dogwood that we've had for 15 years or so in the one spot, and it flowered very nicely this spring, and then after that, it leafed, but I would guess anywhere from a third to a half of the amount of leaves that it would normally have. And it did not drop those. It kept them all year, but we're about ready to cut it down and possibly replace it. And I'm wondering if that kind of I guess circumstance indicates that it's going to die out.
So Hugh, when it leafed out, it bloomed, but then when it leafed out, it had fewer leaves than normal.
Absolutely, yes.
And did anything happen in that area that you know of that might have harmed the tree?
No.
Okay. And do you have mulch around it, or is it just grass coming up to it, or what's the situation?
Grass coming up to it.
Grass coming up to it.
Right.
Okay.
And I did dig in around the roots once before. I had a problem with a dogwood in which a small white insect was in and around the roots and had damaged the roots. I did some digging and could not see any sign of insects in and around the roots.
All right. Well, it sounds like you've done a good job being sleuthing around, and let's see if we can get any ideas on what might be happening here.
Well, I would look to see if were there any spots on the leaves that indicate any other sort of disease that's going on. Plus, dogwood borers definitely could be an issue.
Well, powdery mildew is one of the worst problems on
But would that keep it
dogwood.
from leafing out?
But usually they kind of crinkle up.
Yeah, crinkle up.
And
Have that
that
kinda
might
look.
be what he's thinking. It doesn't have the leaves, so they crinkle.
Because they weren't so full
They
looking.
wasn't full looking
Yeah,
out. And I wouldn't, 15, you're losing 15 years taking out a dogwood.
I'd give it a chance.
I'd
Now, I'll
give
tell
it
you
a
what I would do.
chance.
I think having grass up to the dogwood isn't a good idea because they're shallowly rooted,
right.
if I'm not mistaken. And if you could mulch it, then it can get more water because the grass is probably getting any water that falls before the
Grass
tree.
is in direct competition with that tree, so I would definitely take out the grass, mulch around that tree.
Also, if you've got grass by a tree, isn't it? It's more likely that
you're going to hit it with the lawnmower, and
that's the death.
any wound to it becomes an entryway for dogwood borers, and they are problematic in our area.
Okay. So Tony, there are sprays that you could use early for powdery mildew. I think, as you say, I'd give it another chance, and you might want to use. If you call the extension office up there, I think they could tell you the name of one of the sprays that has some systemic activity too, which is fine on something you're not going to eat, if I'm not mistaken. And so he could maybe do that and help get that tree. I'd give it another year because I had powdery mildew on my trees and they were looking bad. And then Tony advised me on a spray that had some systemic activity. And I stood on the ladder with the thing on the end of the hose and sprayed my tree a good bit. And now it is back and it really looks good. And it's where we sit in the shade. So give it a chance. Trees can get well.
Bring a sample into an office somewhere.
Yeah, bring some leaves in if there's still some up there, and we'll see how they look. Well, we want to see how something else is looking, and we don't think it has any problems at all. We think it's coming along just fine, and that's our Thanksgiving turkey decoration. Teresa?
Thanks, Amanda. Ellie has been working very hard over here to get our turkey finished. You can see we've added lots of feathers, but you have one more special feather you want to add, right?
Yeah.
Which one? The red one? Well, I need your help. I can't do it. I need you to put it in for me. Can you stick it in the turkey? All right, this is the last feather. Is that a good spot? Oh, I think that is perfect. But our turkey isn't finished yet. It's missing its head. It's missing its head. So I'm going to bring the turkey over here a little closer to me. Oh, we forgot to cover up his neck. So we made a special little cover out of felt. Now on a real turkey, I think that this piece would probably be red, but we decided we'd go for an artistic rendition of a turkey. So we're making his neck brown. Can you get it? There we go. Super. It's all finished in there, and then we just need to stick the stick down in the clay. Ellie, do you know what a turkey says?
Oh, gobble, gobble.
Gobble, we have a headless turkey, but we can fix it. We can put his head right back on
the stick.
On the stick. Very good. A turkey says gobble, gobble?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Now, are you going to eat some turkey for Thanksgiving?
Yes, I am.
You are. Are you going to eat this turkey?
Yeah.
Well, why not?
Because this says pretend.
It's just pretend. I keep forgetting. It looks so real. Would you like to help me add this part? I think this is called the snood on a turkey. What a strange name, huh?
Yeah.
I'll put a little bit of glue on, and then can you wrap that over the beak up here? You know what I think that this is used for?
Mm-hmm.
I think the boy turkeys, I think it's how they help get a girlfriend. Isn't that silly? Yeah. Oh my goodness, it looks great, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a boy rooster.
Yeah. A turkey though, aren't we? We don't eat roosters on Thanksgiving, do we? Now, I think we need to name our turkey. Do you think? What can we name it?
Fido.
What is it?
Fido.
Fido? Are we going to name it Fido?
Purple.
Purple, all right. What should we name the turkey?
Purple.
We're going to name it Purple the turkey. Okay, if you say so, we'll name him Purple. Now, I have one last piece for you to add. We've made a little slit up in the top of the turkey's head just using some scissors. You can just open them up. Now, we did this ahead of time, so it'd be easier. And Ellie, do you think you can add this into there? Can you push it down in there?
Yes, I can.
Oh, good job. Do you know what this is called?
The comb.
The comb on. Oh no, we knocked the beak out.
Ew!
Oh goodness. You know, making crafts can be a little bit tricky, can't it?
Yeah.
Yes, but don't worry. I think we can fix up our turkey over the break just fine. We'll fix the eyes. Now, you know what? I think our turkey's kind of silly because turkeys don't have combs. Roosters have combs, so we kind of have a turkey rooster going on. We're going to make some finishing touches, get our eyes back on, and get our head secured because poor purple turkey is not looking very good. And when we come back at the end, we'll show you our finished project and give you some ideas in case you want to do something just a little bit different. Amanda?
Thank you. And, I'm glad that you're over there with the glue and not me. Linda's calling us from Charlotte. Linda, we're glad to hear from somebody up in North Carolina. Have y'all had a real hard freeze yet up in Charlotte, or have y'all been having this kind of unusual weather that we have?
We haven't had a freeze, but it's gotten cold.
Yeah, I think we're going to have that too. Well, what's happening up there that we might be able to help you with tonight?
I have a pecan tree in my yard, and it's like a native. It wasn't anything I planted, and it produced pecans every year, which the squirrels bury all over the yard, and it produced more little trees.
Yeah.
I'd love to share them with people, but by the time I can identify them as being a pecan instead of one of the other trees in the neighborhood, the taproot is so long, I can't get it dug up. Can I plant pecans actually in pots and have them grow?
All right. Well, Tony is our resident pecan. Since he's from McNulty, he's going to say he's the pecan specialist.
Pecan, that's
and
right.
she'd like to share some of these little seedling pecans, and they're kind of hard to crack sometimes, but they can have a mighty good flavor.
You can put them in pots. Just stick them
as
in a
soon as
pot and leave them
as
outside.
they fall.
Yeah. Just take the pecans, take the husk off of it, and stick it into a pot. You can kind of halfway crack it a little bit.
So halfway crack it a little bit,
Yeah.
just to open up that. Okay.
And they'll come up. But the only thing about it is you got to wait 10 or 12 years before you know if it's a good edible pecan or not.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while for a seed to go to maturity. That wood has to mature, and then it matures, and then it'll finally fruit, and that may be 12, 14 years.
Now, we have a website that talks about pecans. And so if people want to find out about planting pecans that are suited for South Carolina, where you wouldn't have to wait so long, where would you go, Jackie?
On HJIC, there's a handout on pecans, and it has some recommended varieties.
Okay.
And just go to your local nursery
and find them there. Okay, great. Stella's calling us from Myrtle Beach. We're glad to hear from the beach. It's a wonderful place to be, I am sure, this time of year, particularly when there are not quite so many cars to contend with. And so I don't guess you're giving us a traffic report, but what can we do to help you with your yard?
I love your show, and
Thank you.
my question is about gardenias.
Okay.
My sister has this tremendous gardenia, and it's gorgeous. She gave me pieces from the root, and I put it in my yard. It's getting big. We're having no problem with it. But she tried trimming it back a little bit because it's by the garage, and it didn't bloom as heavy as it usually does. But she wants to move it because now it's becoming a problem getting the cars in and out.
Oh my goodness.
So we're wondering, when can we transplant this, and what will we do to get it to the point where we can move it?
All right. Well, I know that when you do that root pruning, doesn't that help before you transplant? Can you talk about that a little bit, Jackie?
It does. What you want to do is you really want to transplant in the fall, but in the spring, it's good to come in and go out to where the drip line is, where the branches end, and take a shovel and go all the way around and prepare the shrub for movement.
Cut down with a straight shovel.
And then
cut those roots.
Those roots, and then come back. November, December is a great time of year to move things. Come back 6 months later, 7 months later, move it. Keep in mind, though, that evergreens do lose a lot of moisture through the winter months. They need a lot of water. So you'll want to treat that plant like it's a new planting and give it a good deep watering at least 2, maybe 3 times a week. She's got very sandy soil.
And
so
Tony, what happens when we cut those roots? What's the point of doing that?
What it does is you cut those bigger roots off out from the plant, and they put on small micro roots.
And those are the real workhorses, aren't they?
That's the ones that takes up all the nutrients in the water for the plant. So what you're doing, you're preparing it. Instead of cutting them off all at one time, you're having some little roots back near the plant that will take up some water and nutrients and help the plant grow.
Now, does she have to wait until the spring to start root pruning, or do you think she could go ahead and start now?
Well, if she does now, really that's going to be moving the shrub in the later spring, early part of summer, which is really truly the most stressful.
Yeah. Okay, so you think?
I think if the plan is to move it, go ahead and prep it in the spring.
Okay.
Find the perfect place for it, because moving a plant, you want to find the right place.
You don't want to go through the spring.
Right. Okay. So find the right place and prep it in the spring and move it next fall.
Okay. Michael's calling us from Powdersville. Michael, we're glad to hear from you tonight. And what's going on in your part of the world that we can help you with?
My question is, I received some gourds. They're green, and I was just curious as to how do I store them? You know, what do I need to do?
They've already picked, somebody's already picked them and given them to you?
They did.
And they're green?
They're green.
Well, Tony?
Just let them sit. Just put them somewhere where it's dry. A lot of people leave them out on the vine or out in the rain, but sometimes they'll rot like that. It's better to put them where it's kind of dry, if you can, and they'll kind of
like in the garage or someplace.
Yes, garage somewhere where the rain doesn't get to them, where they don't stay wet, and they'll just actually just kind of peel off the outside and form a nice hard gourd. So if they're mature, that's the important thing.
If they're mature. So if they're not mature, they're not going to do, so he just has to kind of wait and see.
That's right.
But you're not supposed to dip them in bleach or wash them or anything. You're supposed to leave them alone.
Just leave them alone.
Okay. So put them there and forget about them, and hopefully when you look back.
Don't put too many on top of each other, because then
separate them. Okay,
separate
great. Sounds good. Well, let's go back and see how our turkey is going, and if his head is still attached to his body. Terasa?
Thank goodness we do not have a headless turkey at this time. We have a very colorful turkey. Ellie, can you show everyone at home how we've been adding some color to our turkey?
Yes.
What have you been using?
We're using the balls and stuff because that's very true, and we need that for our turkey because we don't want it to fall down. So we use the colors, and we do want what the turkey tells us was to gobble gobble.
Well, would you like to show everybody at home how to put these in so that they can make one themselves if they want to?
Sure.
Okay. Can you add this green pom-pom to our turkey?
Yes.
Thank you. Very nice. Just a few more finishing touches for us, and we'll show you the finished project at the end of the show. Amanda?
Thank you. And now we're going to see some turkeys that are not pretend and that would be absolutely fabulous to have for Thanksgiving dinner when we go to visit Timberock at Hopkins Family Farm. We are at Timberock at Hopkins Farms, and I am with Agnew Hopkins, a family member here near Simpsonville, South Carolina. Agnew, this farm was a traditional row crop farm for a long time, but y'all saw the handwriting on the wall and you decided to embrace the future. How are you becoming sustainable at Timberock?
Well, Amanda, it's been a long journey, but right now I am involved with poultry, so heritage poultry. And I have 4 different breeds. I have American Standard Bronze Turkey, Delaware Chicken, New Hampshire Chickens, and Pearl Guineas.
Now, what does heritage mean exactly, and why did you choose these particular breeds?
Well, a heritage bird is one, first of all, it can naturally mate and breed. Also, it has a slow growth rate, and I chose heritage breeds because they need to be conserved, and it's all about conservation, and these particular birds are endangered, believe it or not, but they are, and so that's one of the reasons I chose these breeds.
And then with these turkeys, I think that they are have been raised to be ready for Thanksgiving tables. Tell me about getting these turkeys to the point where at Thanksgiving they're going to be sitting there ready to be carved up.
Well, it's a process. It takes about 6 months. You know, I've hatched this year's birds. I hatched myself, and they hatched in early April. So I'll be able to take them to the processor in about the 1st of October, second week of October. And you're looking at about 24 weeks is when you would want to go to the processor with your birds. So kind of word of mouth, kind of doing my own marketing. And so it's been really, really good. People have reached out to me.
Now with ducks and chickens and guinea, you're going to have eggs that you can carry to the farmers market in Greenville. And is that really getting people excited? Do people like knowing where their food comes from?
They sure do. They do, Amanda. That's one thing that I've really noticed, that people will ask a lot of questions. They want to know exactly how you're raising things, and in particular what you're feeding them. We're fortunate here at Timberock that we have enough acreage that we can let the poultry out, so they get to get out on the pasture, and I feed them organic, non-GMO feed. So they are really growing.
How does this way of being brought up and fed differently and getting to get out and walk around add to their flavor?
Well, it adds a lot, Amanda. Just by being able to turn the birds out during the day, they're able to roam and graze out on the pasture. They're eating bugs and grasshoppers, earthworms, things of that nature, organic material from the soil. And then, I feed them more organic, non-GMO food daily. So it's more about exercise than anything else, in my opinion. That real dark meat, that's where a lot of your flavor is.
You have a lot of sweepings when you clean out these chicken pens, and so it seems kind of normal to have some vegetables to use all that great manure on. So let's talk about your vegetables.
Yeah, well, with a poultry farm, there's never any shortage of manure, so we want to be able to recycle the manure, and that goes on the organic garden. So when we clean out our chicken coops and turkey pens, all of that, it all goes into the mulch pile. And then we mulch during the year with the garden. And so it's put right back into the soil.
I saw a pretty interesting looking pumpkin growing in your organic vegetable garden. Give me the story on that fella.
Well, it's not a pumpkin. It looks like a pumpkin, but it's actually a winter squash.
A winter squash?
Yeah, winter squash. It kind of looks and resembles Cinderella's pumpkin, but it's called, it's got a brown terracotta look when it's ripened, and then it's going to be a real dark orange on the inside. It's wonderful soup and roasted squash. It's really good. It's excellent.
I take your word on the soup being tasty, because I know you are a trained chef and actually taught yourself at Johnson & Wales, and you're using those skills now to have another function that goes on here at Timberock. Tell me about that.
Well, we have a special venue site, and it is for wedding receptions and family reunions, corporate picnics, things of that nature. And I'm able to, since I have a culinary background, I'm able to do some food service work for individuals that need it.
It looks like this is an integrated farm. I think y'all look at everything that you have here and find ways to make it feed into another part of the farm to keep it sustainable, so that there will be many more generations of Hopkins, I hope, enjoying life at Timberock. And we want to thank you for letting us have a glimpse into this wonderful facility today.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Appreciate y'all coming. And if your viewers want any additional information about Timberock, they can go to the website, timberock@hopkinsfarm.com, or you can email me. My personal email is hopkins.agnew@yahoo.com.
Thank you very much for letting us visit with you today.
Thank you.
A family working together to see that their land remains a farm and not just another housing development. People to be proud of and to celebrate. And I can attest to the culinary background that Agnew has. I was there once for a meal, and it was absolutely wonderful. And he shared some of those great eggs with me. And boy, do they really bake up into a wonderful cake. I hope you'll take a chance to visit them if you're in the neighborhood. We had fun. This has been a fun, feathery time of year. I had a wasp nest, Tony, that I thought would make a great
Thank goodness it's empty.
make a good pin cushion for my feathers. And we have a friend and then some metal sequoias that leaves. We have a friend at ETV who shared some of these beautiful barnyard feathers. He's got all kinds of registered and heritage birds that he has at his house, and he went and picked up some of those feathers and shared them with us, and we are so appreciative and thank him so much for his generosity and for kind of giving us the idea about having these fun, wonderful things to do with longleaf pine cones. Thanks a lot to everybody at ETV who helps us. And I want to particularly say Greg Williams, who was full-time at ETV for a long time and has been coming back and helping us every Tuesday for a long time, has decided that it's been long enough, and we are going to miss Greg, but we know he's going to have a wonderful time with his family, and we hope he'll stop back in and see us sometimes. Oh, goodness. We have another call. Bonnet is calling us from Holden Beach, North Carolina. Oh, I went up there and had the best time when I was young and first engaged. It was a beautiful part of the world. I hope it still is, Bonnet.
It sure is. I have a good time down here. We have fish houses, shrimp boats. I've been heading shrimp today and down at Mark and Lori's Fish House in Barnum Town.
Oh, it just sounds wonderful. Well, if you got a problem in your yard, we might be able to help you with.
I've got a question. I got 2 pecan trees.
Yes.
And it says they'll grow over 100 foot each. I want to know how far apart to plant them and if I need to add anything to our sandy soil.
Okay, all right. Tony, I'm going to throw this one to you because I know you've done a lot of work and studied on pecans. So what do you think?
Well, the final distance between trees should be about 60 foot.
Okay.
They
so
will
if
usually
you put one here, then 60 feet, put one here.
That's right.
Okay.
We usually in a orchard we'll plant one every 30 feet and then remove one so that later on when they get big they still have enough room.
But in a home garden you'd go ahead and put them to 60 feet apart.
Go ahead and put them to 60 feet apart.
And then we know that soil testing is important, and it usually takes about 2 weeks, so I think she could hold those trees because they have some specific needs for some things, don't they? Wouldn't it be good?
Mm-hmm. Definitely want to check on the pH of the soil, making sure that that is correct. And then also, pecans are very zinc dependent, so testing for the zinc. I just have a soil sample, and they'll give the recommendation specifically for the pecan.
What to do. Okay. Tony, how about planting that pecan tree?
You got to get your post hole digger.
Well, if you don't have a post hole digger, what can you do?
Well, you still got to dig a deep hole. You don't want that tap root to do that number, what we call J-rooting.
Okay.
Comes up. And it's better not to cut it off, but you can.
If you have to. Dig as far as you can, and then if you have to cut it off, then do it
It's
then.
better to cut it off than to go J-root.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. I appreciate that advice. And Jeremy's calling us from Columbia. Jeremy, we're glad to hear from you tonight. And what's happening in the capital city we can help you with?
Oh, hi, Amanda. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I have a pine tree in my backyard. It's about 20 feet from the house. It's about 113 feet high. And I'm just a little worried that the feeder roots are going to get into the foundations and cause cracks. And I want to take it down, but my wife doesn't want me to. She says that it provides a lot of shade.
She's absolutely right. You made a marvelous selection when you married your wife. You should leave that pine tree right where it is. I'm completely in agreement with it. And Tony, they have a taproot, don't they?
They certainly do. They have a taproot that goes way down. And really what that does is stabilize it to keep it from blowing over. That's really what it does. What I would do, though, is I would cut those roots. What I've done in the past is actually taken a ditch witch and cut the roots down and then put plastic straight down, and that way they will not grow back through it.
Okay.
Or put a
barrier,
side really.
Where he's worried about them coming towards the foundation, he could go in and cut the roots there and put some like flashing or something maybe even?
Anything,
Okay, it doesn't have to be too deep because those feeder roots are up high.
Yeah.
So how deep should it be, Tony?
I'd still probably go 18 inches or a little bit more.
All right, I didn't mean to give you such a hard time, but I just love pine trees. I think they're perfectly beautiful, and I know you'd miss it if you cut it down. So I'm glad that you've got your better half is giving you good advice about what to do with that. We just love the Your Day program. I love it when I'm in the car at noon. Sometimes I look for a reason to go out and get lunch so I can listen to it for a little bit. And on Wednesday, they're going to have one of those wonderful shows where the veterinarians were there. And I declare, I just love to listen. I have cats and dogs, and I always learn a lot. And and it's fun too because they have such a good sense of humor. So be sure to tune in every day, Monday through Thursday, for that wonderful program that comes from Clemson Your Day. I know you'll enjoy it and you'll learn something too. And now we are going to thank Terasa. Terasa was once a school teacher, and I think she's felt like it again, but she was a good sport, and I know she enjoyed being with her sweet little friend Ellie. Thank you, Terasa.
It has been a blast working on our Thanksgiving turkey. I did miss my chatters, but I hope that if you have joined in the chat room, you had a great conversation, and thanks again to Trish DeHaan for helping from home. Now, Ellie, you remember what we spelled out here with our clay?
Turkey.
Turkey, very good. And I think we made something for the turkey to eat.
Worms.
Worms. So even though it's a pretend turkey, he will be hungry?
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, I'm glad we've got him something to eat. Did you have fun making the turkey?
Yes.
Do you think some other kids at home should try it too?
Yeah, ma'am.
Oh, very good. You have very nice manners. Thank you for helping me out tonight.
You're welcome.
For Thanksgiving, what do you think you might eat with your turkey? Are you going to have mashed potatoes?
That's turkey.
You're going to eat this turkey for Thanksgiving? But you told me he was pretend.
No, I mean turkey from the farm they got dead.
Oh, okay, very good. Well, I think we have one last thing, and that's to wish everyone at home a happy Thanksgiving. Can you help me? Can you wave and tell them happy Thanksgiving? Ready?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you so very, very much. Tony, you've got something that looks pretty tropical. What have you got there?
It's a beautiful tropical plant. It's a papaya.
A papaya? No.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they grow so easy. You can take the seed out. They got a bunch of seeds in the center of a papaya.
Yeah?
And you can plant them and they easily come up.
Really?
And they're kind of a tender perennial. Sometimes they may get killed, sometimes not. But they always get killed down to the ground, and then they may come back, may not. But got so many seeds, you can just keep planting.
So if you plant seed, is it gonna get in the when it warms up in the spring and you plant seed, is it gonna make a nice little plant for the summer?
They get up about 4 foot, 5
really?
foot tall.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, that's fabulous. That's a good looking leaf. So that one's out in your yard.
Actually, this is Stanley McKenzie's
Oh, I'm
place.
not surprised. That
Old
Stanley is a great. He's so
Yeah.
much fun. He really is, isn't he? He has so many great things going on at his place. And what else have you got back there for us?
Okay, got some pineapple sage. This is one of my favorites because it's flowering this time of year and it has such a beautiful. Now it doesn't flower much the rest of the year and it has a beautiful smell to it.
Mm-hmm. And you know, just as like Dr. Dawn said about that pine bear and gentian, it's so much fun when there's something that comes in the fall. And you're right, it takes a good while. And that's a beautiful color in it. And that one, of course, comes back every year, doesn't it?
Comes back every year, just comes right back up. And it has a nice foliage all year long, but then it has the flower during this time of year.
Yeah, it's good looking. And if there are still some insects, some of those little yellow butterflies and all, if it's still blooming, they'll be all over it when it blooms, won't they?
Yes, ma'am. They love it.
They do love it. It's got that nice little tube in it. Tony, I want to thank you so much for being with us.
I appreciate it.
It's a great pleasure. And I love the color of your shirt. You look like a great big tangerine, and I can't think of anything better.
A big pumpkin.
Big pumpkin. Well, I guess it is more that time of year, isn't it? Yeah. But and thank you for looking after the collards, and I'm looking forward to having a lot of the ones that you help people grow.
They are. They just grow so beautiful this year. I love to look at a big field of collards.
They are beautiful.
Oh, it's pretty.
Yeah. And thank you so much for being with us, Jackie.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you're close by and can come over and join us.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And we have a surprise. Next week is the last week we're going to have this set. We are going to be having some big changes here at Making It Grow. And I hope you're going to like them. We're all real excited about them. And change is always a little bit scary, but it's time to do things sometimes. So do tune in next week because we'll say a fond farewell to the old country store that has served us so well for so many years. And we'll go on and have bigger and better things, we hope. And we look forward to having you on the new journey with us. We'll see you then.
Making It Grow is brought to you in part by Santee Cooper, South Carolina's state-owned electric and water utility. More information on green power and energy conservation programs online at santeecooper.com. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture, reminding you that certified South Carolina agricultural products help make South Carolina grow. McLeod Farms in McBee, South Carolina. This family farm offers seasonal produce, including over 22 varieties of peaches. Glory Foods, celebrating Southern food with a soulful heritage. Glory Foods, a way of inviting South Carolina back to the dinner table. FTC Diversified, a proud part of your local communities, providing communication, entertainment, and security. Art Fields, a 10-day art competition in Lake City, South Carolina. Additional funding provided by International Paper.